Hey guys, it's SharpZ, and well, this week ended up being a little busier than I thought it would, so sorry that this video is just now coming out. So I decided to merge Acts 4 and 5, since Act 5 ended up being only a couple episodes, and it's the ending of the show. So, I'm just merging the Downfall Act and the ending, or as I like to call it, epilogue, into one episode. So this episode is probably going to be a little longer than the other two. But, yeah, without further ado, cut to the intro. Okay, let's do this as quickly as possible. Shotgun Round, episodes 14 through 24. Here we go. Let's do this. Episode 14, we find out more about Stele and Ray's mind. Episode 15, we find out more about Nerve and, well, we see Adam. Episode 16, we get to see into Shinji's mind, which is actually very interesting. Episodes 17 and 18, we get to see Toji pilot Unit 4 and almost be killed. The next episode, episode 19 and episode 20, both focus on Shinji and Unit 1 going berserk, and some stuff is revealed. Episode 21, we get some glimpses from the past, and Kaji dies. Episode 22, we get to see Asuka's mind break and her past, and why she is the way she is. Episode 23, we get to see how the dummy plugs are made, and a lot of dark revelations about Nerve. Episode 24, we meet Karu, and we see Shinji make his first true friend. Okay. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and warn you, my sense of humor is not gonna really be here for these episodes, cause, these episodes are very serious, very dark, very mature compared to what we've gone through before. So if I seem less humorous, it's because these are very serious topics for the most part. So anyway, let's get right into it. Granted, one of the big things that we've learned is all Evangelion units are operated by a human soul. And let's get into who each of those are. Okay, so let's start with Unit 1, since that's the main unit. And that one is operated by Shinji Ikari. And the soul inside is Yui Ikari, his mother. Getting into the next one, we have Asuka Langley Soryu, pilot of Unit 2. And the soul inside her robot isn't actually revealed yet, but I'm just going to let you kind of guess who that is. And then we have Unit 0, piloted by Rei Ayanami. And when I first watched the series, I actually didn't get this. The soul inside of Unit 0 is actually the soul of Baby Rei. I guess is a good way to put it. The young Rei that we see in the flashback episode. While we're on the topic of Rei, well, let's just say Rei is a clone. A clone of Shinji's mother, to be exact. A clone of Yui Ikari. Okay. So right now, for those of you who are wondering, I'm just trying to go through some of the big points that you might have missed, but probably did not. So just bear with me for a little bit longer. Okay. Here we go. Also, we found out about Asuka's past. And this is the part where I'm going to go ahead and say it again, there's some very mature subjects in this show. So if at any point you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to click off the video, because this part of the show is very dark, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. Okay, so Asuka's mother was insane. Like, criminally insane. And, well, she had a doll that she thought was Asuka. Never paid any attention to her real daughter, and killed herself and the doll. This helps us to deduce why Asuka reacts the way she does to Rei and Shinji. So, Asuka, she needs others' approval. However, she said herself that she only needs her own approval. So, it's kind of a juxtaposition there. However, more majorly, let's look at her actions toward Rei and Shinji. Multiple times throughout the series, Asuka is borderline abusive to Rei. Okay. And, here's the thing. With dolls, they're playthings. I'm not trying to underplay, Rei as a character when I say that. What I'm trying to say is with a doll or any other kind of toy, because notice Asuka during her whole mental breakdown is like, I don't want toys, I'm an adult. They are, it's not just the association with it being an actual doll, but the fact that it's something completely under the owner's control. And in a way, both Rei and Shinji are like this. When it comes to Rei, she almost gets herself killed multiple times. And even once says, if I die, I can be replaced. And, I mean, just look at her reactions to Shinji multiple times. A major theme of Eva is how children are like their parents, and Asuka's no different through her treatment of Shinji. I mean, I think the best example is the kiss scene. When she uses the fact that Shinji doesn't want to admit he's a coward most of the time, and, also mentions the fact that his mother's dead, which we're going to get into Shinji's mom here in a little bit. But when asked for, why do you want to kiss me, she just says, I'm bored. Almost treating Shinji like a plaything. Like a doll. I think we've talked enough about this metaphor, but let's continue to talk about one more thing related to Asuka. Ironically, with how much he criticizes Shinji for being a coward, when she's faced with nearly the same adversity, I mean, maybe a little more, depending on how you like to think about it, she has the same reaction. She runs away. I mean, granted, they do find Asuka at episode, I think it's 23 or 24. I can't really remember. But we do find her again. However, she never really was the same throughout the end of the series. Okay, now's as good a time as any. Let's talk about Yui Ikari and Rei. Granted, this fact is foreshadowed multiple times. For example, Commander Fuyutsuki calls Rei Ayanami Rei Ikari, for one. For two, there's the scene where Shinji says, the way that you wrung out that towel is like a mother would. Which gets a reaction out of Rei, which is actually very rare in the series. And there's a couple other minor things, but let's get into those just now. The relationship between Rei and Gendo seems very similar between that of Gendo and Yui. I know what you're thinking. Well, duh. It's a clone of Yui, so of course Gendo's going to treat her similar. However, when we see the dynamic from the earlier episodes, it seems like Gendo and, I mean, Yui seems overly dutiful, very similar to Rei. I wouldn't say as submissive, necessarily, but definitely very, self-sacrificial. Granted, if you really think about it, since Yui's soul is the soul in Unit 1, there are multiple times where both protect Shinji and Rei respectively. Well, both Rei and Unit 1 protect Shinji respectively. This video is going to go pretty long, so you might want to grab a bite to eat. Yui seems to be the one thing that Gendo will openly be emotional about. In the scene at the graveyard, it's mentioned they pushed away everything else. However, Yui, he still keeps close in his heart. Which, besides providing a little bit more of a character for Gendo, it does show how and why Gendo is the way he is. And granted, Shinji takes after his father, in that with Shinji, he also separates himself from people. So, there's that. But granted, I feel like we really can't go any further without going into the two different endings. So without further ado, let's end this episode. And I'm going to actually post 2 videos for the next part. One covering the movie, and one covering the TV ending. And then I might post a 3rd video on that sometime, discussing what I personally believe the ending is. But, yeah. So, until next time, guys, this is SharpZ, signing off.